What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Rocky episode, and today we're going to be talking about what seems to be everyone's least favorite Rocky film of the franchise, Rocky V. For starters, this isn't going to be a direct defense piece for the film, although it may come across that way. I have numerous jarring issues with the film, but I will say with my chest out that it's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be. Rocky V certainly receives a lot of understandable criticisms, but I feel many people speak with ill-advised emotion when discussing this film. I can't speak for everyone, of course, but I generally don't know what everyone expected. Many people wanted another larger and more formidable Rocky film, if I had to guess, which the franchise has already consistently delivered. However, Rocky's peak came after Rocky IV, let's just be honest. You really can't get any bigger than that, so Sly's decision to return to the roots of the franchise, going back to the slums of Philly with Rocky and Adrian doing the same jobs, Rocky revitalizing that beloved character style from Rocky 1, all things that made Rocky 1 great, was a wise choice in my book. Personally, I'm all ears. Usually my comment sections are completely dead, but I would love to hear a coherent idea of how Rocky V could have surpassed any other Rocky film, because the franchise essentially accomplished everything that it could have. I feel that the biggest drawback for Rocky 3 and Rocky 4 was that they lacked that groundedness feel that Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 had. So, Sly tried to appease to the fans and return to the franchise's roots, but people still found an issue after spending a few films pleading for that style to return. He was essentially trapped in a no-win situation. Realistically, in any franchise ever created, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, the fourth and fifth films usually face a decline and feel exhausted. So in fairness, he was fighting an uphill battle the whole time. However, I still believe this film delivered. With that aside, Rocky V is essentially a horror movie. We were forced to witness our beloved protagonist, who had done nothing but great things for 4 films, earning every bit of his success through blood, sweat, and tears, be stripped down to his bare essentials in just an hour and 40 minutes. While, to me, this is an extremely difficult watch, it still breathes new life into the franchise and it sets it apart from the other installments. The first 4 Rocky films are relatively straightforward with a focused plot. However, Rocky V introduces several subplots to add depth and complexity to the narrative. These subplots include Rocky's brain damage, his financial struggles, his relationship with his son and Adrian, Tommy's character, and the lingering grief from the previous 2 films. Despite the numerous subplots, the creative team effectively balances and integrates them into the overall story. For instance, while some subplots such as Rocky's brain damage, which is not extensively explored due to his inactive boxing career, feels less developed, they are still seamlessly woven into the arc of Tommy Gunn. On another note, to me, the heartbeat of this film lies between the relationship between Rocky and his son, which creates one of the most compelling father-son dynamics I've honestly witnessed in cinema. I'll delve deeper into that in a minute. The film's tone is somewhat scattered due to the numerous moving parts, but it ultimately achieves a profound emotional impact by addressing and resolving several grounding aspects. The narrative is consistently evolving, while the plots are meticulously woven together. As for the characters, I believe we get some of the best character moments from Rocky himself, as well as from Adrian. Personally, I feel as if Adrian got sidelined in Rocky 3 and even Rocky 4, but more so in Rocky 4 if I'm honest. But she has a significant role in this film and shines brightly. She's always been the worried wife since Rocky 1, but her concerns about her son and her husband are amplified in this film, creating a heartwarming family-centric tone. I think Rocky and Adrian's relationship reached its peak in this film, with many emotional beats created through their enduring bond and family dynamics. As well as that, this film reaches great emotional heights within the Tommy plotline because of Rocky's investment in him, as well as Rocky losing everything including his health, having just as much investment into everything as Tommy does, on top of the turmoil between Rocky and his son. Now that beautifully leads me into talking about Sage Stallone as Robert, or Rocky Jr., whatever you prefer. As I mentioned earlier, Rocky and Robert's relationship is the heart of this film. Perhaps it's because I enjoyed watching this film with my dad so much, but their relationship was truly beautiful and felt authentic. They face real-world challenges to put them in uncomfortable positions, ultimately leading to a dramatic downfall as well as an uplifting resolution. While there has been scenes in the older Rocky films where Rocky is a dad, it wasn't nearly as prominent as it is in this film. In my humble opinion, although Sage Stallone may not be the most seasoned actor, their moments together are some of the best scenes in the film. Perhaps it's because it was his actual son, but their chemistry felt incredibly real and believable, making me fully invested in their relationship. Although they didn't plan on making Rocky 6, or Rocky Balboa, whatever you guys call it, I call it Rocky 6, see if I care. Their relationship in this film pays off extremely well, as their bond is significantly impacted in the next film. As for Sylvester Stallone as Rocky, as mentioned earlier, he fits back into the original Rocky character role exceptionally well. I mean, I guess you could argue that the plot holes arise from him being almost intelligent in the last 2 installments, and now he's back to being a coconut, but it all makes sense. Not just because he moves back to his old neighborhood, but also because of the brain trauma he's faced. He effortlessly and seamlessly fits back into that old role like an old glove, having all the Rockyisms we all know and love. I personally believe this should satisfy the crowd that's been yearning for that style of his character to return. I genuinely don't know how Sly does it, but he somehow manages to give this character more layers as these films progress. In this film, we see Rocky losing himself as a person, then seemingly finding himself through Tommy, but in reality, he's just slipping deeper and deeper into the abyss, only to find himself through the turmoil and come to the realization of what things are. Although it can be frustrating to witness him disregard apparent signs, this version of the Rocky character is arguably my favorite. There are so many moving scenes of Rocky being depressed and lost without boxing, as well as missing Mickey and Apollo while questioning what all this is for. Personally, I enjoyed seeing Rocky embody that Mickey mold, if you will, adopting that trainer's mentality. After all, what more could you really ask for? Do you genuinely desire to witness a middle-aged man re-enter the ring with a young and hungry boxer? I feel that if they were to do so, it would simply feel redundant. To be fair, you could argue that the theme of certain characters adopting that Mickey mold can be repetitive. It makes the most sense for Rocky to follow in his footsteps after his professional career concludes. Additionally, the introduction and development of Tommy was commendable. In some respects, Tommy resembles Rocky in the past. He's a broke, aspiring boxer fighting in clubs for chump change, then finding a bit of glory with a wise coach, only to gradually lose himself due to the fame and fortune, similar to Rocky's early acts in Rocky III. Tommy Morrison, rest in peace, like Sage Stallone, may not be the greatest actor given he was a professional boxer by trade, but he was still a pretty solid character. While he's not considered a top antagonist, in my opinion, he stands out as the most colorful of Rocky's adversaries. He embodies the expectations of Drago, attempting to make him a sympathetic antagonist by evoking empathy for his struggles during his ascent, and for me, this approach was effective. Lastly, Richard Grant's portrayal as George Washington Duke was exceptional. While the similarities to Don King are evident, Duke's character thrives due to these comparisons. Outside of Drago's trainer, we haven't really encountered many outside-the-ring antagonists, and Duke truly shines in that role. Not only did he possess the ability to sell a fight, but he also had a knack for getting underneath Rocky's skin, enabling him to achieve his objectives. I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of screen time he received, and honestly, without him, this movie would have felt incomplete. Regarding the fight, I may not consider it the best one, if you will, but undoubtedly it holds a special spot in my heart. It is unique and stylish in its own way, while also increasing the stakes with the inherent risks involved. This fight was very brutal and quite graphic, given that it was a street fight rather than a sanctioned boxing match. Considering Rocky's brain trauma, the stakes were even higher because they're of course not wearing boxing gloves and they were fighting on the pavement amongst other factors. When it comes to my reservations about this film, I do have several. My first issue stems from the hypocrisy the film loosely establishes. From Rocky 1 and on, the film has been about progress and improvement. The film essentially took what was good about the first Rocky, like the direction, having Sly write the film, and getting back to the streets of Philadelphia, but it almost feels like a mere carbon copy of the first Rocky, executed cheaply and lacking the effort though. It sort of contradicts the film's stated intentions to innovate and do something different. My second, and perhaps the most significant issue, is the numerous plot holes in this film. For instance, when Rocky leaves for Russia in Rocky 4, his son is around, 7, 8, maybe 9 at best. However, when he returns, his son is roughly, 12, 13, 14, but he was only gone for a few months. How does that make sense? Another glaring inconsistency is the change of Rocky's residence. He lives in this luxurious mansion that resembles the White House, but upon his return, he lives in a completely different house. Nice looking house, but completely different. Additionally, the film establishes that Rocky's medical records are strictly confidential. Emphasize, strictly. Yet Duke is able to access them. If they hadn't explicitly stated this, it would have been easy to overlook, but they went out of their way to emphasize that no one would know. Maybe it was a ploy to show how snake-like Duke can be, but it didn't help with the cohesion of the film. The last plot hole I have is, how did Paulie obtain the right to sign power of attorney over Rocky is simply nonsensical. It seems like an attempt to continue the theme of Paulie being a nuisance, but it doesn't make any logical sense and is only there to advance the plot. Speaking of plot devices, another minor issue I had was with Uni Kane feeling like a mere puppet. He does virtually nothing in this film and is only there to boost Tommy Gunn. Which, again, maybe that was the purpose, but if they took him out, nothing about the film would change. Moving on to the writing. I honestly have to admit, the writing in this film is some of my favorite. I know, it's kind of a guilty pleasure. It delivers a good mix of laughs and emotional moments. However, there are several instances where seemingly added on pieces of dialogue disrupt certain scenes. For instance, during a conversation between Robert and his girlfriend, they had a grounded and decent exchange. However, she suddenly says, for an Italian kid, you don't got a bad butt. Like, what? Where did that come from? To delve deeper into this issue, there are a few scenes where the actors, both in and out of focus, either over or underact. Some scenes feel overly dramatic, while others appear to have been shot with the incorrect camera angle or just the wrong direction from the director. When the characters are not speaking, they often stand there and they look lost. They're either like this or they're like... and it just disrupts the whole flow of the scene. My final concern relates to the technical aspects, particularly the editing. For example, there are instances where the tacked on dialogue is very jarring. In one scene, the shot is taken from behind the person speaking just off to the side a little bit so you can see like a side profile a bit, but the actor stops talking and the mouse is still moving and they're still getting animated. Additionally, some of the scene's transitions and sharp edits feel out of place with the overall tone and style of this film. Overall, with that aside, I absolutely adore Rocky V, and I will always be its #1 defender. I honestly don't even think it's the weakest in the Rocky franchise. I think it's Rocky VI, and we'll talk about that in the next video. Stay tuned for Rocky VI, and let me know what you think about Rocky V in the comments below. See you guys in the next one.